This is Dr. Sherry, your cruise through history storyteller. I love taking you on stories that give you places that you'll cruise to, ports of the world, and give you the stories of the inspiring people who built the castles, the palaces, the forts, the streets that you'll walk down, so that you're in touch with all of these fabulous, inspiring personalities. One of the places that I love, I know that you'll enjoy if you haven't been there, and that you really love if you have been there, and that's Venice. So often people go to the Doge's Palace or to St. Mark's or cruise on a water taxi under the Rialto Bridge. But I want to take you to some hidden spots, spots that people don't often see, the intimate back streets of Venice. When you arrive, and the shuttle takes you to where you buy your tickets for the water taxi, I'm suggesting that you not get on the water taxi, that you walk across the little bridge to your right and wander the back streets into what we call the Santa Croce section or the Santa Paolo section. And in the center is the Franciscan monastery, El Ferrari. And I want you to go inside this very old red brick style church with almost no ornamentation on the outside. It's the grandeur of the inside. Such an old cathedral. It stands out against plain walls. It's a very unadorned structure, 200 years old. And if you go back into the inner sanctum, we could do a whole tour of this monastery. The further back you go into the inner sanctum, you just feel the imposing weight and size and grandeur of the church. And this is where we find the tomb of the heroic, the favorite son of Venetians, Antonio Canova. So singular in its simplicity, so unmistakably unique, and carved by Canova. Let me give you just a little background on Antonio Canova. He was born in Venice in 1757, and he was known for simple, elegant design in sculptured marble. And when Napoleon came in 1805, and he was conquering Europe, and he had taken treasures of the Vatican, and he came to the St. Mark's Cathedral, and he took the 4 horses off the top, and he took them to Paris, where he installed them on the Arc. And the people of Paris so loved the horses, but the people of Venice wanted their horses back. It was the Pope who asked Canova, because he also spoke French, to go to Paris and to bring back from Paris the treasures from the Vatican and from Venice that had been taken by Napoleon. And accompanying Canova was the Duke of Wellington. And Wellington said to Canova, "Why don't you leave the 4 horses where they are? They look so wonderful sitting up there on the arch, and the people of Paris love them. Why don't you leave them in place?" Well, Napoleon, during his powerful time, had asked Canova more than once to do a beautiful marble sculpture of the war hero Napoleon. And Canova, who had no sense of humor for people who stole cultural treasures of others and spirited them away, Canova refused each time, absolutely staring the dictator, staring the war hero in the face and saying, "I will not do your sculpture." Eventually, Canova did a sculpture of Napoleon, a very unattractive sculpture. And if you want to see that sculpture today, you'll have to go to England, to Apsley House, the home of the Duke of Wellington, because this very unattractive Napoleon was gifted to Wellington for installation in his house. But Canova was successful in bringing back the Vatican treasures, much to the delight of the Pope, and he restored the 4 horses of St. Mark's to the cathedral on St. Mark's Square in Venice. come to our second point, a place more opulent than any other in Venice. This is the Salon of the Merchants, and we walk up this incredibly wide and heavy and sturdy staircase. This is the place where the merchants of Venice met. When Venice controlled the known world of commerce in 1472, this was where they did business. Art was in Florence, the Pope was in Rome, and the most important wealthy merchants of the Mediterranean came to this room, to their private club, to make the deals that ruled the world. You would have never had entry into this room unless you were one of a very small, very elite group of merchants, the people who built the palazzos around Venice. And you'll look up at the ceiling that is covered with Tintoretto oil paintings and the heavy wood paneling. Most museums of the world would salivate to have a piece of this place on display in their museum, but here it is for you. 550 years kept intact by the fathers of Venice for you to enjoy, to just soak in what it must have been like so long ago, to be one of the power players in this select group. And you don't need any museum signage to tell you what you're looking at. You'll see sculptures, wooden sculptures that represent the ships and the commerce and the goods that were carried, that brought the wealth that built Venice. And this is one of the most stunning places in the city. And you don't need to worry about social distancing if you're fortunate enough to be there, because very few people go there. It's a local secret. It's an Italian secret. It's a place that you will remember forever once you have experienced. Now I want you to take the water taxi. You'll take the El Toro on the Grand Canal, and you'll take it around under the Rialto Bridge, and you'll keep going to Sant Merasquello. Now you're in proximity to a whole other section of Venice, one without the grandeur, one without the opulence. Through these very narrow streets, incredibly old, and give you just the real feeling of the Backstreets of Venice. And finally to the ghetto, the Jewish ghetto, one of the original ghettos of the world, certainly the inspiration for Shakespeare in his play, The Merchant of Venice. And I want you to go over this tiny bridge, very private looking bridge, over a very small segment of the canal. And I have in the picture for you a gondola sitting there waiting to take someone into the Grand Canal, just patiently waiting under this very private bridge. It's a very elegant little spot today. And this is the entrance to the Jewish ghetto of more than 500 years ago. You know, it was in the 13th century, that is in the 1200s, when Britain began to expel its Jews. And then, of course, in 1492, the Inquisition in Spain spread all through Europe. But then you also had the diaspora of Jews from Arabia. So what you had in this ghetto, which was nothing more than an incredibly large square. It's probably one of the largest squares you'll come to outside of St. Mark's Square when you're in Venice. So you've crossed this little bridge, and suddenly the square opens up around you, and it's empty and quiet and actually quite lovely today. A little tree, sometimes it's flowering. And on this square there are 4 synagogues. You'll have to use your imagination to picture what this square would have looked like 500 years or more ago, when people, all Jewish, but from so many different places in the world, speaking different languages, like the Tower of Babel, all thrust into this local place. And you'll notice that the narrow entrance that you came over has only one other exit or access to the square, and that's at the far end. so that the forces of the Doge could close this off at night and keep the Jews locked in. And what you will see, not only the Italian synagogue, back in the corner, there's a very historic German synagogue, and then the one that's opened as the Museum of Jewish Heritage. I like to stay in the Ghetto Hotel when I'm in Venice, either waiting to jump onto a cruise or I have a few days before I've come off of a cruise, because for any of you who have spent time in Venice and have suffered through very expensive teeny tiny hotel rooms with a bathroom down the hall, you'll be delighted to stay in the Hotel de Ghetto, where the bathrooms are en suite and you actually have a little bougainvillea covered balcony where you look out on this beautiful square. And before I leave you, when you walk off the opposite side of the square, past the Ghetto Vecchio, the bridge point of the ghetto, onto a tiny little street, and you keep going until you come to one of these classic historic footbridges. When you go over the bridge, now you're in shopping heaven, where the locals go. This is a wonderful way to experience Venice. I know you'll look forward to being there. I have so many stories, so much more about Venice I would like to share. And if you'll join me again, we'll have more stories. You can always read the stories. You can access all of the Cruise Through History books through the website cruisethroughhistory.com. Be well, travel often, and stay safe. Thank you.